Okay, and please stick to the time. We have 15 minutes, including the questions. If there are some questions, you can post those questions in the chat so that we could administer the process easily. So let me open the session officially with the presentation, which is about the effectiveness of the flipped classroom method during pandemic. And we have the presenter, Nina Bitkinishvili. Nina, please, floor is yours.
Thank you. I will share the screen and give me a second. Just tell me when you'll see my screen and I will full present.
Yeah, we see the screen.
Okay, this is full screen right now, am I right?
Yes, yes, it is.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to see and attend the conference. It was really interesting and really inspiring for me, the first day and the second day as well. But now I'm going to introduce the topic, which is really, really useful and important nowadays. This is the effectiveness of the flipped classroom model during the pandemic. And we are facing new, the new world and new reality. And that's why we need to investigate and see what is these old models, how they are working on the new reality, right? The content of the presentation will be is given on this slide. I will just quickly review them and I will start the practical part of my research. The introduction TPACK model, which was presented by one of Dr. Today. She mentioned about this model and I was happy that I heard about this, and I will explain what is exactly and how it is incorporated into my research. And itself, the flipped classroom model, and what was the research question, how was the experiment done in the European school, and the results and the recommendations. Recommendations cannot be generalized according to the research amounts, the participant amounts, but still it's really useful and important to see and look. So as you can see, the times have changed, but the values have not. So this is the same I can say about the flipped classroom. Everybody knows what's a flipped classroom and how this was really successful in teaching in general. And nowadays it's the times change, but we decided in school that we will use still this old and really experienced model in a new reality. And my research aim was, the question was to determine the level of student engagement and the motivation in the case of introducing the classroom model during online and blended learning. And the reality was at the beginning just the online learning, but later on when the government changed this regulation, we came back to school. That's why it's this was not fully online, and we just mixed that. I will explain later with the details. I wanted to measure if the students, it would be the same effective model when we are doing this online learning. I'm a teacher right now, but also I'm a trainer of teachers. And in the school, I offered the training for teachers to see this model in general, because for some teachers, the flipped classroom model is not, well known. They did not try it yet, even in a face-to-face environment. That's why we decided to share the training for them and to tell the benefits of the flipped classroom in general. And then later on, we decided to start research, how it's kind of a good tool for teachers to use during pandemic or even blended learning, and how can use even when we are face-to-face learning. So it was beneficial in three-dimensional, because of this new reality. And later on, the teachers were trained. So 105 teachers from my school. We had the group of trainers, and we create the program for this flipped classroom model for this different environment. And after that, I searched for one volunteer teacher who decided to use this flipped classroom model in his class, fully flipped. So it was the pandemic period, and he decided to do this research with his 9th grade students. So we had this experimental group, 2 9th graders, and fully online, and it was 12 weeks, and this teacher had a tremendous amount of workload, because as you know, this flipped classroom takes a lot of time and energy to do videos and then the activities for the flipped classroom when you come back to the to class, not a virtual class or real class. So I'm really thankful to him, and because the results were really, really interesting. But before I will show you the results, I want to show you this model, which is nowadays really famous, and we need to make into our, we need to take into the consideration. Nowadays, before now, even pandemic, we started talking about the technology and the importance of the technology. But you know, the most of teachers and the educators did not internalize and understood well how was the importance of technology. Why do I need? I'm a really good pedagogue. I have really good pedagogy background. I know my subject well, but nowadays, this model shows that this is the reality, that we need to stick to it. So that's the 3 part, and the really important part. This is the technological knowledge that all teachers and the educators needs. We are not talking about the student in this case. Content, of course, we need to share something really interesting and engaging to the students. And of course, without pedagogical knowledge, it's impossible to share the material effectively. That's why this model is really related to my topic, and I decided to use this model for the research as well. So that's why I was also concentrated to the content and the pedagogical knowledge and the technological knowledge as well during this research. And as I already mentioned, 105 teachers got these skills, and they tried to use randomly, not fully, but just one teacher decided to do this kind of the fully flipped classroom in his reality and his learning process. And the online platform was Teams, and the teacher was sharing the materials on Teams. And by the way, the end of the course, we found out that it would be nice if we have a platform where all the materials will be uploaded, like a learning management system for the class, because Teams is really nice and you can share everything, you can have this, but to find the older and the previous materials is not easy to catch and see everything there. So we made some, but it was, you know, foundation, and we will use this discovery for the next level, because I'm going to research it more for the whole school environment. And 10 graders, we decided to just use for the control group. As you know, we have these 9th graders who were experimental group, and 10 graders who just had the normal online classes with the same teacher. Of course, the interest and the subject was the same, but of course the 10 graders and the 9th graders are not the same age, but still it was interesting to see the engagement, how was improved. And I was really surprised, and I was really, you know, it was a really big discovery for me when I was interviewing the teacher at the end of this research, the experiment. He was mentioning how the process was changing. The first week, students did not even watch the video because they did not know what was the reason of watching the videos when they had the class before. And the next week, how the progress was raised, and a few students decided to watch, and this class discussion was really engaging, because, and the teacher even told me that he targeted the student who watched the video before, because discussion showed that. It was really good kind of discovery for me. And later on, after weeks, they had 2 lessons a week, and after 4 or 5 5 weeks, they had already 85% of the students who had the video watched, but as teacher mentioned, the students were not engaged so much, even when they were face-to-face, not only online, when they had these kind of materials at home. So I don't know, the teacher was really inspired, and he decided to create the podcast website after this discovery, because he found that this process is really, really engaging for the students. And because I know that I don't have much time to show all these details, I want to just show you the recommendations that the teacher and the survey just showed, the result shows. This flipped classroom model during the online learning is really effective, as it is already tested and discovered the face-to-face learning with the flipped classroom is really effective. And it's recommended the flipped classroom by facilitating the learning management system before continuing the conduct teaching and learning process. And it's recommended to provide proper technology for teachers in conducting the flipped classroom, because this recommendation is especially was done by this teacher who was interviewed, that without this training before, what is the model itself, what does it mean, how it can be implemented, and how the videos can be recorded. Technological skill of this teacher was really high, but still, you need to know what is what you need to give them to kind of investigate what they need to hook them, let's say, right? I mean the students. And that's why this was the really important recommendation that we found during this research. And I did not finish the research yet. It's still happening. At the end of the year, I'm going to research other teachers who randomly used the method in the class, not only just one teacher who had fully, this process in his two classes. Yeah, this is the recommendations and the results that I have from the really interesting research. I was really, after my PhD, I did not have research done yet. I was doing this during the PhD process, but after that, it was kind of stand outside and looking at how the process is going on. I was not a teacher who was doing it, but still I was really involved and inspired by the process. And I just want to share this. This was really effective and important. And if you would try, I will give you some materials how to, the methodology and the things that you need to consider during this flipped classroom, implementing flipped classroom in your learning settings. So thank you so much. I don't know how many minutes do I use, but I tried my best. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer, and there is my email address and the phone. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer you.
Okay, thank you, Nina, for nailing a deadline and the time framework. Thanks for sharing your experience and finding, and further research could be very interesting, and please share the research with us as well. What I personally think is that flipped classroom model somehow saved the educators in the pandemic situation, and it helped us a lot. Anybody from the audience would love to express ideas, comments? We had the comment in the chat, so that a model could work well. So I could agree with this. Moodle-based platforms are wonderful for a flipped classroom. Actually, for any type of classroom, when you have all the materials stored in one place. So I think we have not a very traditional topics, like we talked about reverse classroom, and the next topic that we have is related to reimagining classrooms. What if students let the classroom not teachers, like very provoking, topic, and the presenters are Guranda Khabayshvili and Nina Todran. So please, floor is yours.
So I will say a few words. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Nina, for your very interesting presentation. Today, Guranda will be presenting our outstanding PhD student, very clever, very organized, and very good friend. So she will talk about how to move reins from teachers to students. Let's listen.
Thank you. Well, it's my honor to be the part of this conference again. So I hope that my topic will evoke certain interest in you. So what if students led the classroom, not teachers? Well, our current education system is still stuck in the dark ages. It can be said so. We all have experienced the system that was putting a premium on the product rather than the process of inquiry. Despite many efforts to redesign a classroom environment, many students are still asked to gain mass amount of information. Many of them still sit in the rows, raise their hands to let their voices be heard. We all have to think that we must redesign our teaching practice because the brains of our students that we have nowadays in our classes may be developing in a different way than the brains of students that we had years ago. So what if we stepped back to allow our students to step up and engage in the messiness of learning? Actually, this kind of instructional method, it was informed by by Socrates years ago. So that's not a new concept, we know. And in order to improve the education practices and meet the challenges of today's ever-changing environment, it's significant to introduce a paradigm shift in education. As teachers and educators, we must embrace the students of today. And we have to realize that our students can construct their own learning, and we are not leaders anymore. The move to student-centered learning was informed by the progressive education, and it was greatly supported by constructivist theories. The main objective of such instruction was to highlight the significance of learner autonomy and the knowledge construction. Even though the concept of student-centered learning is not new, adapting the practices of student-oriented instruction still remains a challenge for higher education institutions. And it's not fully integrated in learning processes in all courses. I want you to imagine walking in a teacher-centered classroom. What do you see? What do you hear? Where is the teacher standing? What are the students doing? Can you please answer my question?
Like if it is a teacher-centered setting, I could see the teacher standing in the center. And students like passive listeners, and only teachers' voice could be heard. And students might be passive listeners, actually.
In my case, it's not like that because I'm doing the IB right now, and it's totally opposite way. And I'm not active when I'm teaching. I'm talking with just 5, 10, 7 minutes for organizing them. But the inquiry-based learning is mostly in my class, and not only in my class, but in IB in general. That in this case, the teacher is not standing in one point, even though the regulations does not allow me to go to the students. Still, I'm not standing in front of the students.
Well, I imagined, Nina, I just imagined, the question was imagine teacher-centered classroom. Well, I definitely imagined.
And my next question is that in contrast, imagine the classroom. I mean, walking into a classroom that is student-centered, what do you see? Like, what do you hear? Like, where is the teacher standing in that case? So that's the in contrast, right?
Nina's answer.
Yeah, that's Nina's answer here. We got it, okay? Well, so question arises here. Are today's classrooms more teacher-centered or student-centered? Well, it's noteworthy to distinguish the key differences between these two paradigms. So we all know that when we are talking about teacher-centered instruction, teachers are the main decision makers. So they control the learning process, and the students, as Mrs. Eka mentioned, they are not active anymore. So teacher is the knowledge producer here. And in contrast to teacher-centered instruction, in a student-centered one, students are actively engaged in the process, and their voices are considered to be the central of the learning experience. So this shift was from academics productivity to student productivity, from academic disciplinary interest to student interest, and from academic teaching styles to student learning styles, and from classroom teaching to student learning. So now imagine that you were watching your classroom from outside. What signs would you see that indicate student-centeredness? What could be the signs?
Time. I mean, like even we could do this while looking at the lesson plan. I mean, the number of activities that you have and the time allocated for each activity. This could be the sign, like noise. So student-centered classes are mainly noisy ones. Okay, so
it's noisy, right? And sometimes, like some people might think that, oh, there is noise in the classroom and what's going on? There is a chaos. But in fact, that's what we call the student-centeredness, right? There are many scholars who define this concept from different perspectives, but the common things, what they share is that needs and interests of students are met in this kind of instruction. The learning is personalized, and it's not only about the needs and interests are taken into account, but personal challenges, cultural identities, learning styles are also considered. And they synthesize the information. They integrate it with the general skills of inquiry, communication, critical thinking, and problem solving. Let's put simply, so teacher-centered classroom, the teacher is at the center of the learning. So information flows from the teacher to students. Students look to the teacher to make decisions. Students pay more attention to the teacher than each other. And teacher does most of the talking, and teacher sets the rules and the goals. But that's the model here, kind of the 4 principles that are the main characteristics of student-centered learning environment. These are: students take ownership over their learning. Learning happens anytime and anywhere. Learning is personalized, and learning is competency-based. So what we mean when we say learning is personalized, this is what we call the needs and interests. And the needs and interests are taken into account, that the learning is designed in a way that all kind of learners are benefited. When we say that learning is competency-based, that means that all students know what are expected from them, and they try to achieve the learning outcomes. It's very important to give them the choice and give them a chance to make decisions in the classroom, and that what we call students take ownership over their learning. And here, when we give them the kind of the role of decision maker, they feel that they are leaders. So they got more responsibility over their learning, and in that way, they just learn better. Learning happens anytime and anywhere. That's vital to give students opportunity to learn like anytime and anywhere. So the learning should not be restricted to classroom, and it can be done outside the classroom as well. So all these components and all these characteristics, they all lead us to deeper learning. Well, as we already mentioned, like the teacher's role here is the guide and facilitator, and the learners are not passive like listeners anymore. And they just get the information, they synthesize, and later they integrate it with the skills. This paper actually has like here, I have developed the certain indicators of student-centered learning. Some of them are like active learning is one of the indicators. So it deals with the lesson structure and pacing. So here we got limited teacher talk. Throughout the lesson, students ask the questions. So students are given a wait time, and they are given a chance to reflect on their own learning process. So activities and materials should be real life related, and activities also should be challenging enough. And all these activities that we plan in the student learning classroom should elicit the thinking and induce student curiosity. And plus, they should be enjoyable and creative. So one of the indicators is student ownership and agency. So student voice and choice. So as I have already mentioned, the teachers act as facilitators, and the students make materials, activities, and assessment format choices. So they feel like leaders in the classroom. So students have autonomous assignments and set their own goals for the assignments. And the teacher connects what students are learning to their experiences, observations, and feelings in daily life. The feedback is one of the components of the student-centered classroom, and it should be the formative one. So the teacher provides feedback on student assignments without assigning a formal grade, and teacher needs to emphasize students' progress rather than mistakes. And collaboration is one of the indicators of a student-centered classroom. The students should be engaged in pair work, group works, and they need to explore the problem. Peer learning and peer assessment are part of the learning process as well. So you don't think that your class is student-centered? Well, yeah, we know that it's not easy to make any to make a classroom more student-centered. But first thing that we all have to think and ask the question to ourselves is that, how will all these benefit my students? So we have to keep in mind that if our brain is not actively processing and storing the knowledge, we are not learning at all. So this means that best learning experiences are interactive. Students need to be engaged. They have to discuss, they have to draw, build, and collaborate. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Thank you, Guranda. Nina had her hand raised, please.
So,
Okay,
Grant, not a comment, it's a kind of a comment. I wrote in the chat, but I need to explain it. So I'm facing the challenge right now as a teacher and the facilitator is the inquiry learning process. That's where I need to stop my instruction. So no, not instruction, even content, and I give them freedom to start their own, this independent inquiry or independent learning process. When I need to start, it will be a good topic to investigate and look at, because even I was attending the IB workshop, international workshop, and I was asking them, this is a really big challenge for the teachers, where I need to stop and they will start. This is also the skills that they need. The independent learners, that they will develop their own, learning process themselves. So the facilitator is really nice process, but it's really challenging.
That's really challenging. I agree with you. Yeah, totally. So yeah, that's really challenging. It's not an easy task, and we know that student-centered concept, as I have already mentioned, it's not a new concept, right? But yeah, incorporating all the elements of student-centeredness, that's the challenge, and for everyone. And we have to just take into account so many details while integrating these kind of activities that could meet the student-centered learning environment. Okay, well, Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. I want to comment on Nina's feedback. Well, that's one of the main challenges that we could see with content-based instruction. But what I believe here is like using comprehension checking questions. This is what we call our beloved CCQs might help a lot, right? So the way you can understand whether they have followed the content, right? So that could be an interesting strategy.
Miss Eka, you're talking about English teaching right now. But
no, it's not. No, it's not English teaching.
Not
like it's based on the content. Like you give them the content, and then based on this, you give them comprehension checking questions. I mean, whether they have understood the content or not. Like not having direct questions. What is it? But you put kind of case, and then you get the responses, and then identify whether they have understood the content or not. So it's not English language related, but this is content related strategy, and this practical strategy might help you, Nina, to get the understanding of the knowledge.
Yep, peer assessment might work here as well. So like they kind of assess each other's knowledge, where are they, I mean, their progress, and they kind of reflect on their work. It might also like kind of be helpful.
Yeah, having a clear-cut rubrics, right?
Yeah,
so this could help to develop peer assessment strategy as well. Thank you for the interesting topic, Granda, that provoked the discussion. And we have another quite interesting topic, which is related to international experience of metacognitive reading strategy using English as a foreign language teaching by Christina Pirtskalaishvili. Christina, please, floor is yours. Christina, we can't hear you. Okay.
Please, visible?
Yes, we do see your screen.
Thank you very much. So, my name is Christina Pirtskalaishvili, and so today I'm going to present international experience of metacognitive strategy used in English as a foreign language teaching, and as well as
Christina, I'm sorry for an interruption, but your voice comes from far. We can't hear you clearly. Sometimes it comes from far.
I'm sorry, I'm at work and it's noisy.
No, it's not noisy, but it's about your voice.
My voice is lower.
Yeah, it comes from far, so we can't hear you clearly. Do you have headphones? Maybe you could use them.
May I switch?
Christina, what did you say?
Can I switch off my camera?
Sure. So if it enhances the quality of your internet.
Yes. I'm very sorry. I'm really sorry for this technical problem.
Now we hear you well. Now we hear you well, Christina. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm at work, and that's why I'm not alone here. Okay, thank you very much. As I mentioned, this is the topic of my dissertation. That's why I'm especially interested in this field. So, significance of the online language learning strategy. First of all, I would like to discuss what is language learning strategies and why are they so important for us teachers and for our students. According to the last period, when the significance of the online language learning strategies is increasing, is because that language learning became more important and significant nowadays, and it is also important that we have to teach our students how to and how to learn, how to save their time, and how to learn better and in short period language, especially when we are talking about the foreign language. And we have different classifications of language learning strategies. For example, Anderson in 2003 offered us the following classification of language learning strategies. This is metacognitive strategies, memory-related strategies, compensatory strategies, affective strategies, social strategies, and self-monitoring strategies. So some of the classifications are larger, while some of them are not. For example, these scientists, O'Malley and Kemet, offered us two main categories of language learning strategies. This is metacognitive and cognitive strategies. As you see in both, so the most significant classification, so the most significant strategies are thinking about learning process, planning, self-monitoring, and self-evaluation. This is the field of metacognition. And as for concept of metacognition, I can say that the first person who offered us the term metacognition and its definition was Flywell in 1976, and it was the metacognition refers to one's knowledge concerning one's own cognition or anything related to them. For example, language relevant properties in or information for data. And as well, Anderson offered us the following definition: attended thinking and reflective processes, and it contains 5 components. And these components are preparing and planning for learning, selecting and using learning strategies, monitoring strategy use, orchestrating various strategies, and evaluating strategy use and learning. And I can hear some source from Anderson's work. So this is a model of metacognition, and it contains the following steps: preparing and planning for learning, selecting and using strategies, monitoring learning, orchestrating strategies, and evaluating strategies. And you can see from his chart how these 5 strategies are correlating into each other. So what does each strategy contain? These are preparing and planning applies activation of prior knowledge, and also, of course, we need to wake up our students prior knowledge to construct and need new knowledge. And selecting and using learning strategies is for the ability to select relevant strategies, when to use them for reaching beloved aims. Of course, they need to select and choose which strategy is better, this or that situation, and then follow it. Monitoring and planning means when the learner monitors self-controls his or her learning process. Of course, it is through tool, because when the one is observing his or her learning process, he can manage and he can find out in which point he or she is weak, and how, and he or she begins to think how could it be improved. Orchestrating strategies is when a student is integrating the use of various strategies in appropriate way. And the last one is evaluating learning. Evaluate his or her achievement is also students. And what is the root? From which concepts of the metacognition comes? Yes, this is Vygotsky's work when he mentioned that children develop their self-regulation skill through taking responsibility for self-monitoring their progress, setting goals, planning activities, allocating attention. And in 1964, Jean Piaget mentioned that the thought that peer discussion and collaboration are useful strategies for students, which gives them ability to monitor their own understanding and create new strategic solutions. So more or less, I have discussed about many definitions and many classifications. Going for in 2014 claimed that the idea that metacognition has psychological construct, it is hard to fit into one exact definition. And studies on metacognitive strategies, what studies exist in this field? So in 2013, in Thailand, Bangkok, the scientists investigated fifth grade students and their relationship with metacognitive strategies, and discovered that even in fifth grade students, metacognitive strategy has positive effect on their reading comprehension. And these scientists conducted naturally pre and post tests, and after a deep analysis of post tests, he discovered that students they themselves think that metacognitive strategies is really helpful. Research among the secondary level students, this is 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, conducted in Indonesia in 2015 from 3 different schools, and they also say that metacognitive strategy has a positive effect on their knowledge and reading comprehension. But these scientists were faced to one situation when, so for the first analysis of data, they discovered that there was a low significant correlation between metacognitive strategies and the students' achievements. And after deeper analysis, they discovered that it was because the students had lower knowledge of vocabulary and they could not understand the metacognitive instructions in English language. And these scientists implemented and give recommendations that even if our students are in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, if they don't know and they can't understand instruction in their foreign languages, for example, in English, it would be better to offer them instructions in their native language, especially when we are talking about metacognitive strategies and instructions, which are enough complicated to understand, especially when students can't understand well English language. And in 2015, scientists from Turkey investigated some interesting fields of metacognitive strategy use and its effect, and it was a correlation with gender and multiple intelligences. Secondary school students were 10th graders, again 11th graders and 12th graders, and they discovered the relationship with the gender. They discovered that female students were using more frequently problem-solving strategies and other metacognitive strategies than males. And it was interesting for me. After multiple intelligence, so global reading strategies were they used, and students who were more frequently used metacognitive reading strategy discovered that they were intrapersonal ones, and they would prefer to work individually, and they were using thinking aloud activities. Yes, and last year's so investigation is in 2020. We again from Turkey. It is eighth graders, L1 students relationship with metacognitive strategies, and these authors also claim that metacognitive strategies really have a positive effect in the case of eighth graders and in the case of L1 also. And this is the last two investigations I'm going to discuss today. And this is connected to elementary and primary level students. These scientists try to investigate what relationship exists in this field, especially in elementary students. And they discovered that even in elementary students, even in the case of elementary students, we can say that metacognitive reading strategies are teachable, but here also we have to explain these reading strategies in both native language and foreign language as well, but mostly in native language because they don't know English language. But by the way, in this case, if we make them to think about their learning process, it will be better if we start this process from the very beginning in the elementary and primary students' case. Yes, and correlation.
Christina, I'm sorry for intervention, but please mind time, okay? So
sorry?
Please mind time. Can you just wrap up the findings?
Okay, I'll try. This is have here correlation, and some scientists' works are in line with my findings, my discussion here. I have discussion part. Which also prove that metacognitive strategies are teachable, especially in the earlier period, from the earlier period and implementations. I can say that teachers need to think about this huge significance of and reconstruct their syllabuses. In that way, they could train their students in metacognitive strategies. And theoretical strategies is not enough. We have to practice them. Sorry for exaggerating my time, and thank you for your attention. And I'm sorry, noisy from my side. Sorry.
Thank you, Christina. Are there questions from the audience? Okay, thank you very much. For the next presenters, could you please pin my and Nina's video, like to make us at the top of your screen, so that we won't interfere in the process of talking, and we would just show you the signs of fingers when time is up. Thank you very much, Christina. You can stop sharing your screen. And we have next presenter, Mr. John Scott, but I don't think he is with us. Once again, let me double check if he's here. Okay, he's not here. So then we have another presenter, El Medina Kuti, with the topic of the effects of family educational background and occupation on student teachers teaching self-efficacy beliefs. Wow, sounds very, very interesting. I do believe the presenter is here. Christina, could you please stop sharing? Here. Wonderful, wonderful. Christina, could you please stop sharing your screen so that another presenter is able to share hers? Okay, I'll try to.
Can you stop sharing her screen?
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to do, and I'm just starting to share mine. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
And
all right.
I will share my screen. Okay. Let's find my presentation here. Okay. Can you see it, please? Can you confirm? Yes, that's great. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, then it's a great pleasure to attend the 11th International Research Conference of Education, Language and Literature in Georgia. And I'm thankful to organizer for kindly accepting my abstract to present today in front of you. I am Elmedina Nikocevic Kurti. I'm a PhD student at the University of Pristina, Republic of Kosovo. And today I will represent in front of you just a short piece of my PhD thesis, which I'm working on. It's the effects of family educational background and occupation of student teachers teaching self-efficacy beliefs. So this is just one of the pieces of my PhD thesis, because my thesis is mainly focused on comparing the mentoring experiences of student teachers during the teaching practice and their self-efficacy in teaching. Well, as you know, the admission process and the teaching practice is a critical part of the teacher educational programs. And the quality of pre-service teacher education is central for enhancing an educational system. Teacher efficacy is a powerful predictor of a teaching performance. Self-efficacy has become an important framework to predict and explain the perception and judgments that influence teacher decisions and actions in the classroom. That's why for developing a high educational achievements among students, student teachers, those who will become the teachers in elementary schools, it's essential to begin building stronger self-efficacy as early as possible. In an educational settings, what means self-efficacy? For those who maybe didn't hear about this term, it's a concept of Bandura, a social cognitive theory of Bandura, and refers to a student's or teacher's confidence to participate in certain actions that will help them achieve distinct goals. Well, according to Bandura, 1989, the initial efficacy experience are centered in the family. So all people start creating their self-efficacy from the family. And then as growing child's social world rapidly expands, peers also assume as increasingly important role in children's developing self-knowledge of their capabilities. Also, according to Hoy and Sparrow 2005, development of the teacher efficacy beliefs among prospective teachers has generated a great deal of research interest. That's why we should, as much as we can, and doing research on how the self-efficacy is developed during the initial teacher preparation. Because as they say, Hoy and Sparrow, the self-efficacy beliefs, when they are established, they appear to be somewhat resistant to change. According to Jennings and Greenberg in 2009, teacher education has not historically focused on social and emotional development of teachers, even though there is evidence that such variables influence student success. While another side, Moy and Luke in 2009 say that identity is developed through social channels. So the view of identity as social mediated or constructed is less dependent on how people see or associate themselves, but on how other people see or perceive them based on what they think they know about them. Some literature review about self-efficacy and creating this identity, teacher identity. Also, Chongling and Chuan say that the early experiences in school, as well as other factors, impact on teacher concept, on self-identification, personal identity, and their teaching practice. And this depends how they view themselves as teachers before they start and the initial teacher preparation programs, and how they were challenged and shattered by the context of their preparation. Also, Pyers and Chuck say that the students differ in their self-efficacy of learning based on their prior experiences, personal qualities, and social supports. But also one of the last research that I found that talk about the theme that I chosen today to share with you is that pre-service candidates' past experience associated with PK-12 experiences and their family teaching profession history impact pre-service teacher candidates' identity development during their student teaching experience. So this say how important it is if we have some teacher candidates that also had some prior experience with their family, or if in their family were also some family members that were in teaching profession, and they could discuss with them and know better how the education systems is developed and how it functions. I will pass, but this literature review, because it's just this one slide, But I have to say that it's quite important to do research on developing self-efficacy beliefs in student teachers, because there's no one formula how to develop this. So it's necessary to research on impact on different factors on self-efficacy development. Well, I have to say some about teacher education in Kosovo, because as you know, we are a very young country. The students and the teachers before the war in 1999 was deprived by educational opportunities. And then after 1999, the focus of intervention was on rebuilding the schools, curriculum reform, organization of education system. And all this was really devastated the educational system in Kosovo. After the war in 1999, the Kosovo was the first country in Europe that adopted the three-cycle system of European credit transfer. Then in 2002, the Faculty of Education was established. In 2020, the total number of students that are enrolled in Faculty of Education is 7,096, while in elementary teacher education progress, we have 2,168 students. So it's a large number, but we see that during these years, it's the number of those that are enrolled in and are part of this is decreasing, because also the number in the call of application is decreasing from 200 to 100, because it's a lot of teachers that are coming in the labor market, but the labor market is not so large, so they can all find the job. So according to the call for application, I have to say that the admission criteria is not enough competitive. So candidates who have finished the high school and passed successfully the state mature exam can be admitted if they achieve at least 40% of the entrance exam, while the entrance exam is just Albanian language, math, and psychology. So they have just to finish this exam. And then for 100 points, they have to have 30 points in the high school success at state mature 30 points, and 40 points for the entrance exam. So there's a need for more studies on how well this program admission criteria predicts the graduate's eventual success, as teachers could provide important information about the effectiveness of the admission criteria. Maybe some of them later can say how it's admission criteria in your universities for being a future teacher. But the purpose of study is that knowing the factors that affect the development students' self-efficacy can help higher education institutes to develop and plan educational programs that enhance students' self-efficacy in teaching, and to understand a possible connection between the student-teacher level of self-efficacy in teaching, depending on their parents' level of education and the teaching profession of their family members. The research questions that guided this article are: what is the level of student-teacher self-efficacy beliefs in teaching? Is there a statistically significant difference in the level of sense of self-efficacy in teaching experienced by student-teacher in relation to the education of parents? Is there a statistically significant difference in the level of sense of self-efficacy in teaching experienced by student teachers in relation to the presence of a family member in the teaching profession? The methodology, well, this study is based on quantitative data. So it's collected with a survey using the questionnaire Teacher Self of Efficacy Scale by Chanin and Moran. And also we had some questions about demographic data and family educational background. This survey is conducted on a sample of 210 student teachers in the third and fourth year of studies, enrolled in fourth bachelor program for elementary teacher education at the University of Pristina. As you can see on this slide, most of the participants are female, because also most of the students that study elementary teaching program are female. So we have 93.8% of them in the study, and also most of them are 18 to 22 years old. Well, regarding the parents' educational background, as you can see, the mean for level of education of others 2.88. So most of them has finished the high school or high pedagogical school. I don't know, we had this high pedagogical school before the war. It was 2 years study after the high school, and 59 of them bachelor. While regarding the level of education of mother, we have lower level of education of them. So most of them, as you see, it's 34.8 of them has finished elementary school, high school 77, and then it decreased regarding the bachelor master studies. So it's a lower of them who has finished university studies. While if you see the presence of family members in teaching profession, most of them has the father as in profession of teaching is 34 of them, or 60.2%, but also sister, 32% of them, their sister is in teaching profession. Regarding the research question 1, what is the level of student teacher self-efficacy in teaching? We see that the self-efficacy in total is the mean 7.45. It's a scale from 1 to 9. So 7.45 says that it's satisfied level of self-efficacy, but we see that the lower self-efficacy is for classroom management, while the higher self-efficacy is for instructional strategies. So our students see that they are not as well prepared for managing the classroom, because as we know, it's the most challenging part of every teacher in today's time. Now the research question 2 is, which is the difference between the level of self-efficacy of student teacher and parents' educational background. So we done the Kruskavalis test because we have 2 groups, and as we see, it's 0.16A4. So it's very low correlation, but it's statistically significant. So we see that those parents or fathers in this case who finished the faculty, the student teacher of them has higher self-efficacy beliefs. While here in this graphic, you see how it increased when the fathers have finished the faculty. So from 7.3, it goes to 7.7 if the fathers have finished the university level. If we see the mother educational background, as I mentioned, most of them has finished elementary school and high school, so it has no significantly difference between the groups. So there's no correlation between the student teacher self-efficacy beliefs and their mother educational background. While if we see the connection with teaching profession in the family members, we see that's negative correlation. So higher the level of education of their family members, the higher is also the self-efficacy beliefs. So in this case, if we see the mean rank of parents, it's higher. So the students whose parents are in a teaching profession, they has higher self-efficacy beliefs. As you see, the significance is 0.000. Also here you can see how it decreases if they don't have none, asnje. So here is in Albanian. I didn't translate this graphic. So it's a decrease if they don't have none of them or others, while you see 7.8 if they have parents in the teaching profession. Well, the conclusion is that students show a high level of teaching self-efficacy with average scores ranging from 7.35 to 7.56 in a 9-point scale. So the overall average of 7.45 indicates a satisfactory level of self-efficacy in teaching of students who were participating in this research. Based on the results, students have higher self-efficacy for using instructional strategies, while lower self-efficacy in classroom management, as I mentioned earlier. According to the results, student teacher whose father has completed higher education studies have higher self-efficacy in teaching than those with normal school, this pedagogical school or high school, or those whose pre-university education. In this case, the mother's level of education, no significant difference were found between the groups. According to the results, students whose parents are teachers have higher self-efficacy than those who, when the teaching profession is held by your sister or brother, or from others or none in the family. Well, the recommendation is that a key component of candidates' admission process in every university, also according to literature review, is that the applicants should possess qualities important for strong teaching. And in the admission process, each university has to work on finding the best qualities that they have. So as I mentioned, in University of Pristina, we have just one exam for Albanian language, math, and psychology, while in university, as we see, there are also some assessment tools in admission process that can also be written reflection, interviews, collaborating groups, tasks, analyzing educational topics, personality assessment, etc. So candidates should identify this position identity characteristics by trying to know themselves at a deeper level across the multiple identity categories, example in the classroom. And two last recommendation, as the student teacher should be provided with regular discussion related to educational change, teaching pedagogy, classroom management, as well as variety of other topics discussed at family or professionals gathering. This conversation can help them develop their self-efficacy in teaching and shape their teaching identity during the teacher preparation program. So as we do better admission process in the beginning, and also work on their self-efficacy by engaging them, thinking about educational teaching change and how it can be developed, and creating their reflection and critical mind regarding all the educational reforms, we can have higher self-efficacy beliefs if also they discuss with those professionals and family members who is in teaching profession, so they can shape their image of educational reform and know better how they can engage in the future. Thanks for your attention. These are the references that I use for this presentation. If you have any question, you can ask, please, or you can write on my email. Thank you very much.
Can I really quick comment or question, please? Maybe? Sure. So first of all, thank you. I enjoyed a lot since my topic is somehow related to this. Well, as we know, one of the major sources of self-efficacy belief is mastery experience. And I'm just wondering if your universities suggest the practical courses for the teachers and the practical sessions, because that might significantly increase their source of self-efficacy, right? So how is that? Did you measure that? Did you include it in your research?
Yes. As I said, this is just one of a little piece of my PhD thesis. My thesis is connected with mentoring experience. So what I done is measuring the 5, do you know Hudson 5 factors?
Yes, personality, yeah, factors.
Personal attributes, system requirements, and I measure how these experiences of them indicated to their self-efficacy beliefs in these 3 subdomains that I mentioned: classroom management, instructional strategies. And even I didn't present it here, I can say that our students mainly lack the feedback, but the mentoring experience was good. From 1 to 5, the levels was between at mean 4. While, as I mentioned here, I said that the self-efficacy was in the level 7.45. So it found that it's a statistically significant correlation between the mentoring experience that they have during the teaching practice, because they fulfill the questionnaire after the teaching practice. They do each year from first year of study until 4 years of study. So it's a 4 elementary year. Elementary teaching program in the University of Pristina. So this mastery experience that you mentioned has a good correlation to their self-efficacy beliefs.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Coming up now, attending Professor Ekaterina Petia with her very interesting and intriguing topic, if the increased screen time has empowered our students with more choices. Eka, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, I could call that session like student-centered session, because all the topics that we had somehow are related to this very important issue. So the world in a global pandemic situation, I think, united all the educators from different parts of the world to save students' school and university lives. So, well, we teachers tried a lot, I mean, to save the time of teaching and lecturing, and we applied to different techniques and methodologies. Like, I would love to share one that I used to do in my classes, like I would like you all to stand up and find any object that has the shape of a triangle. And can you bring this and show this here? Okay, you have a minute. Wow, Nina, you're so smart. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Good, perfect. So that's the way somehow to have your students actively and physically get involved, right? And we were trying lots of different strategies to have the same traditional approaches. Okay, Guranda, wonderful, Natia, Elena. Okay, good. All right. Okay, Natia, thank you very much. Well, what I did was like somehow to have you energized. And what I'm going to do now is like, I won't use the presentation first time in my life because I just miss the eye contact with people as you are not in the somehow conference room. I just want to talk. Okay, and share the experience. So, I mean, I think we have to thank you, teachers, because due to their all-out effort, the students were placed in a virtual learning environment, and the global education system was provided with a unique opportunity to experiment with virtual learning setting. So, therefore, the digitalized classroom with well, personal laptops, computers, tablets, and smartphones has become inevitable, and they served to promote a democratic, student-centered teaching and learning model. And the classroom setting that we are in, it's full of digital natives, and of course the setting does require the necessity of technology integration. The teachers, I believe, who do not entertain the idea of integrating information and communication technologies in their classes, prone to diminish the level of student centeredness. And in the 21st century, the education system that aims to provide qualified learning and teaching opportunities should not limit the urgent process of transforming from a traditional structure to a modern structure with technological opportunities. And I think that was the setting that we were put in, right, when this pandemic situation has started all over the world, and that's the global issue, right? And the concept of flexible pedagogy is well developed in a flipped classroom. And I believe that actually Nina has talked a lot, and her research was very interesting that she has conducted at one of the private schools in Georgia. It's very interesting in terms of the methodology, because it is housed in the framework of like democratic, student-centered approach, and it encompasses two phases, like independent learning and interactive lessons, right? So they get the classes, I mean, recorded classes, videos, like web-based lectures, presentations, and all the reading materials to like view and study prior to class. And of course, that makes their independent learning more promoted, like promotes autonomous learning a lot, and saves time, right, when it comes to online classes. So the acronym FLIP itself, like it has four major pillars, like F stands for flexible learning setting, L for learning culture, I stands for the like intentional content. So it is pre-designed by the teachers beforehand. And P, this is professional educator. And the module itself enables the students to apply to an individualized learning context, like creatively engage with the teachers and classmates in a live learning environment. So unlike a traditional classrooms, with the flipped classroom models, we have the preparation stage done by the teacher. Okay, so here the web-based lectures, videos, presentations, and reading materials are prepared by the teachers. So in the traditional classroom, what we do is like we have the live process and the students receive the information from the teacher. That's like the knowledge transmission. But with the flipped classroom, the students just activate the knowledge through interactive activities. Well, of course, that's very time consuming for teachers, like to design interactive activities like exercises like this, like Granda has mentioned in her presentation, like designing democratic student-centered environment is challenging and time-consuming for teachers. But that's the product that we receive at the end of the learning and teaching process, okay? So what I would love to highlight here is that the cycle itself of designing a flipped model defines the teacher's very active and creative role in planning content-based instructions and activities which are designed for students. And in this case, we have a perfect, we guarantee a perfect balance between teacher-student talking time, because the students have the necessary information beforehand to get actively involved in live lessons through interactive classes. And this could be like discussions, quizzes, projects designed by the teachers. And it's very thought-provoking to say that autonomous learning facilitates the process of sharpening students' self-directed learning skills. Well, these are the advantages. Like, I mean, the model somehow saved the online mode of teaching and learning and motivated the learners. But, well, there are challenges as well. Like the challenge pictured by a flipped classroom is related to teachers' large time commitment. Okay, so here the planning stage, aiming at selecting appropriate, authentic materials and designing interactive activities is time consuming for teachers. And they also need, you know what, an institutional support, right, and flexibility while assessing the students online. Okay, so I mean, plagiarize, well, so that was the main issue that we experienced as teachers, and having that authorized platform for checking the students' writings is also very important. And also using already created video lectures like TED Talks and podcasts, because some of my colleagues used those already ready-made videos. But what I think here is that it might impede the process of tailoring the learner's needs, wants and requirements, because yeah, it was generally created, and then you cannot focus on the aims that you have for your particular class, right? And of course, it's like having that individual approach helps the teachers identify the learner's performance, the content, and design different perspectives. Well, I just want to focus on a couple of practical strategies that I could share with you while applying to a flipped classroom model. First of all, that's the content. So, well, it's obvious that the model itself implies to design a flexible learning environment that we talked, but this cannot be a universal approach for all teaching and learning contexts, because the following indicators like that I'm going to talk about should evaluate before flipping class. For example, course type, okay, topic that we are supposed to teach, students' needs and abilities, right? We all know that we have mixed abilities classes, and here we could have needs assessment, right? So to identify what are the criteria that we need to look at, right? So in terms of instruction, so as we said, the flipped classroom requires from students to work independently, and well, the teacher should provide them with clear and comprehensive instructions. And here the steps described in detail through simple language functions can assist the learners to fulfill the tasks independently, like having simple, sometimes I hear very complicated instructions. Well, so it's much better to have very simple language language, not complicated language functions, and get the message to the students. And of course, the activities like designing project-based, inquiry-based activities might promote the learners' analytical thinking skills, like self-regulated learning strategies. And of course, it's of a great practical value to implement interactive exercises to activate the learners' obtained knowledge, provoke their thinking phase, and communicative competence. Okay, so that also grants the teachers with the opportunity to have more time assigned for creating a final product. Okay, so because very often when we have to, for example, provide students with the content during a class, we don't have time for creating, monitoring, and assessing the final product. And that flipped classroom definitely gives you that that opportunity. Okay, well, so the model itself tends to bring a feeling of safety because you are the one who controls time and space for active learning, planning individual approach, and as a result, the learners become socially connected with the peers and teachers in a pandemic world where people really feel isolated and socially disconnected, right? So, and I think here the increased screen time that was brought through a flipped classroom model during online learning and teaching has definitely promoted the sense of autonomy and democratic student-centered environment, which really result in sharpening high-order thinking skills. So a well-planned flipped classroom, so the model itself enhances the quality of an education in an online mode, and I think it paves a way for an increased level of motivation. And well, I could conclude that less synchronous learning time in front of a screen can have a positive impact on the students' mental and emotional health, which is of a paramount importance in the pandemic outbreak of COVID-19. So I just tried to have kind of positive picturing of this pandemic outbreak and tried to show the importance of integrating a flipped classroom model in the classroom. So feel free if there are some comments and the questions regarding the model.
Thank you, Eka, very much for your interesting presentation or talk. What I notice is that from day to day, from one strategy to another, from one approach to another approach, we are adding on more and more responsibilities on ourselves.
Right. Yeah, that is so true, but that somehow, well, that's challenging, that's time consuming for teachers, but you see the product, you see that the students are leading the whole process, and you grant them for the opportunity to monitor the progress.
Right.
And also you can use this product for the next year as well. It will be the same subject with the topic. Maybe the learners are changed, and if we are talking about the individual needs and so on and so forth, but still it will apply for the same topic and the curriculum that the teacher is doing. So it can be used for the later as well. But
yeah, that is so true. That is so true. For the first time, that might be challenging, but well, flipped classroom for a traditional mode of teaching and learning works perfectly. But I think in this online mode, that served a great purpose, like saving time and having the students' energy level up. Okay, so this is what we teachers really tried during this pandemic situation.
Thank you. Any questions, audience? All right, so our next topic is, thank you, Eka. Also very, very interesting. It's about the challenges with teaching aviation English. Very interesting topic, right? Eka knows that.
Yes, I got specialized in this
we had the PhD student who dealt with it. Right, and the presenter is Elisaveta Dalakishvili. Please, Lisa.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So it is a thing that it's totally different from other educational fields, as well as no one knows how the real story is and how it happens on radio telephony communication, how the people are controlling the air traffic in the sky in order to follow the safety procedures. So now I will share the screen in order to show the presentation, and let's discuss the difficulties that especially mostly the Georgian pilots have experienced. Okay, but so it was here. Excuse me 1 minute, I will share the screen.
The topic is really very important because it is linked to the safety, right?
Yes, it's linked to the safety procedures, yes. Mostly the communication, the purpose of the communication is safety.
Right. Getting somehow the know of the research context, somehow I started to worry about those things, whether they have really understand whether they really understand the language input. Okay, Lisa, go ahead.
Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes, we do.
Yes,
okay, then start.
We can.
Okay, then I will start. So as I have already mentioned, it's going to be about the challenges in teaching aviation English, and the article is about like the introduction. That aviation English nowadays is we could say that it is a specific related to the English for specific purposes, and is widely split all over the world, including various branches like English for aviation, and a lot of international organizations are working in coordination with each other and take a lot of time and effort in order to figure out the main causes of miscommunications and handle them, and in order not to repeat them anymore. For the introduction, we could say that English language teaching, as well as English for specific purposes, was not a planned process. It started to be worked as well as the necessity of the society. People mostly who were trying to work in not only in aviation field. For example, we have got also the other different branches, for example, business English, medical English, and so on. Yes, so the necessity was, as a requirement, was important in this case. Aviation English is also the field of English for specific purposes, as well as the basic principle in order to overcome this everything. Tell me what you need English for, and I will say which English you need mostly. So as the aviation industry is rapidly expanding, it was the main purpose to follow the standard phraseology, and especially radio communications are, during the radio communications, mostly it is used aviation English. And especially the main task is to pay attention for the vocabulary, as well as communication. Radio telephony communication happens, occurs between the air traffic controller and pilot only by the radio telephony transmissions. So they don't have face-to-face interaction in this situation. That, for example, in this case, if we could a little bit not to pay attention to the structure and grammar, but vocabulary is most important. Also other skills, it will be listening, it will be speaking, pronunciation also, which is very important during radio telephony communication, as well as this, everything is interconnected to each other. And every field which I have already mentioned, even pronunciation is important, especially for non-native English speakers, as well as during communication, it can cause misunderstandings. And in order to be not to be the main causes of miscommunication, language should not be one obstacle in this situation. So how is the necessity of English language in aerospace industry? Excuse me. Here. Especially, I want to pay attention to the International Civil Aviation Organization, which controls civil aviation all over the world. And it takes the responsibility about the requirements of the language proficiency. And I have mentioned here the level 4 proficiency, as well as it's a must and it is a request for air traffic controllers and also for the pilots. Communicate effectively in voice only and in face-to-face situations. But when the conversation is going about the flight procedures, so here the radio telephony transmissions are more essential than face-to-face situations. And communicating common, concrete, and work-related topics with accuracy and clarity, as well as clearance, is the most important task. And also use appropriate communicative strategies to exchange messages and to recognize and to resolve misunderstandings, for example, to check, to confirm, clarify information, and in general or work-related context. And another important task is also to handle successfully this situation. For example, for the linguistic challenges presented by the complication, as well as during the emergency situations, when the standard phraseology could not handle the situation, as well as a stressful situation, other kind of difficulties to make clearance what is the main cause of emergency situation. Sometimes it's difficult for a pilot to communicate clearly in this situation, and lack of the knowledge of English language should not be the obstacle in this situation. And so that's why international organization takes a request for the English language proficiency level. So level 4 is a must, as I have already mentioned. Also, it has got level 5. Then the duration is between them, the difference between them is the duration of the time. For the level 4, pilot or controller need to renew the license after every 3 years. And for level 5, it should be renewed after 5 years. And also it has level 6, which means that only native speakers have only permission to have the level 6 licenses. For non-native speakers, it's mostly level 4 and 5. Especially what is the challenges during this working process? The challenges is the first one, lack of the teachers in this field, and also the program. For example, curriculum is constantly reviewed and modified in response to students' needs. And the teachers also, aviation English teachers, are required to serve as a syllabus authors, materials designers, and monitoring the specialists in order to meet the new requirements and standards. And somehow it's a difficulty, especially for the teacher, that you have to pay attention more, not only which is related to the language, but you have to also study especially the task which is related to this field. There are a lot of kind of questions related to, especially to the profession. In this case, I would say that it's better to work in coordination with the pilots or air traffic controllers who has experienced it during the real radio telephonic communications. I mean, especially the challenges which happens during the real communication. And another one, which could be also a challenge, is the students' incompetence in English language. Especially, I want to pay attention to non-native students, as well as lack of clear language experience can cause misunderstandings. For example, also other issues in teaching technical terminology in the target language to other students who are qualified enough to acquire more. And for the conclusion, I would say that how to improve and overcome these challenges during the working on program, which needs improvement every time. The teachers can collaborate with pilots, which always for example, while choosing the material that is more relevant to students' preferences and desires as a candidate pilot. And also aviation lessons can be structured as a standalone course. And also sometimes it is very useful to use additional English classes can be planned by the teachers to provide language proficiency. What we have got here, interesting here. These are references which are used during the working process, and thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you, Lisa, for the interesting presentation. And I want to comment, I think culture also interferes here with the air travel and the pilots. If they come from two different cultural backgrounds, then there can be misunderstanding.
Yes, it's like related to the pronunciation, also culture, non-native speaker pilots. Yes, it's for example, sometimes it's very difficult to make clear the transmission from Chinese English. It is called in this way, Arabic English, Indian English, as well as the pronunciation is an obstacle in this situation, especially for the radio telephony transmissions. And for the when the flight altitude is changing, it also causes some kind of gaps during radio telephony communication, or bad weather conditions also could cause, for example, some kind of distortions during the communication. So culture, pronunciation, and listening, speaking, everything which is interconnected with each other. Yes.
Okay, any questions to Lisa? Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks a lot.
Next presenter is Ms. Elena Tsatsua about continuous professional development topic, very hot one.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hello.
Can I share now?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, hello everybody. I'm thrilled to be here with you, and thank you for very interesting presentations. My name is Elena Tsatsua. I'm from Georgia. Today's topic is collaboration and challenges in continuous professional development. I've been teaching English for many years at Tbilisi State University, and not last year, but in 2019, I established an organization, English Teachers Space for Educational Purposes. Here I have some positive or optimistic quotes that working alone is not fun at all. Teachers can change the world for the better. These are university teachers supporting other teachers. And I believe that collaboration is a mirror in which we can see our professional growth. So these are the kinds of just ideas and concepts that are connected related to the reason why I established this organization. I was inspired by Sir Ken Robinson, who believed that education is not linear, but it is organic and dynamic. I would like to share with you my imagination of education system as a whole. I think that education is a circle in which there are different types of teachers this time. Sir Ken Robinson mentioned that there are people who are immovable, movable, and those who move others. And I added teachers are also this type. And the concept of my organization is to invite all teachers in English teacher space to collaborate and just bring and make difference in this way. Actually, I have lots of things to tell you, to share with you, but I will be as brief as possible. I would like to share with you my story of volunteer project, which I implemented in the region of Georgia. This is the Honi municipality in Imereti. The project was called Continuous Professional Development in English Language Teaching for the teachers of region. I mean, especially in Imereti region. So these are my volunteer colleagues who volunteered in this project. Some are from the USA, some are from Georgia, and I would like to thank all of them. I also would like to thank Ministry of Education and Science of Georgia, who supported this project, the mayor of Honi municipality, Lada Jurkhadze, and Mrs. Lika Gumberidze from US Embassy. She is the, I don't know, I've never seen such a supportive person as Mrs. Lika, because she also encouraged me a lot to implement, to finish up this project. And you know, this in 2020 was a very difficult year for us because this project was stopped. And then I renewed it in open air, and we held open air sessions in Honi municipality. By the way, you can visit this municipality in summertime because it's full of touristic attractions like Okatse Canyon, you might know, and also Okatse waterfall. So I will talk about this, about trainings and workshops a bit later. If we improve our teaching attitudes, we will witness changes for sure. I mean, with teachers. So there were lots of challenges during this project, and my team and I tried to reflect on these challenges and find some solutions. You know, it's difficult. So I always make conclusions according to my experiences, on the basis of my experiences. And we often ask a question, what is quality education? And as for me, a quality education comes and is carried out through collaboration, not competition. And we need to reflect through collaboration. And as Sir Ken Robinson used to say, most great learning happens in groups. Collaboration is the stuff of growth. I linked my project, and I started to implement my project on the basis of David Korf's reflective cycle. This is an experiential and reflective learning approach where individuals can change. So this consists of 4 steps, 4 stages: planning, doing, checking, and changing. As for me, just to make an overall conclusion, the last stage was the most difficult, and we all know the changes really do not come so easily, especially in the regions. And I will talk about it. Why? What are the main causes? I added 4 stages for teachers' professional development CPD framework by the British Council. This is awareness, understanding, engagement, and integration. My team and I introduced all these details to the teachers. We made needs analysis. We arrived at place twice or once a month, and we held sharing meetings. We did not call it training or workshop, you know, because I don't think that I can teach my colleague anything. We're just sharing, and during sharing meetings, teachers can just make reflections on themselves. So awareness is the most important and key factor here, because when we start reflecting on our mindset to which mindset we belong to, growth or fixed mindset, we start changing. Actually, we do not have time now to write in a chat box, but let's think of these two questions. Why is teachers' professional development so important in 21st century? And think about the time you failed in teaching. How did you feel? How did you cope with it? And you know, I have come across the teachers who think that they never fail. And that's very surprising for me, because we fail on a daily basis. And when we see where we fail, it means that we can improve, we can develop. So the failure is the most important thing for me to develop in the future. Well, as for the consequences, I will just share with a general overview. From the beginning, there were 25 teachers who attended our sharing meetings monthly. Well, I have to mention that this sharing meetings held 8 months. It was 8 months project. So, but regularly there were only 18 and 22 teachers attending, and out of 18 or 20 teachers, there were only 9 and 10 teachers who were engaged all the time. So I mean engaged by engagement, that they followed all these 4 steps. They were planning with us the activities and some new strategies, methods, approaches, and they were doing and implementing or carried out at the sharing meeting. Then we checked or evaluated everything at the end of each meeting, and they really changed, because we attended the classes, they recorded videos, and they took photos, how they put the theory into practice in their classes. So I think that from the beginning, 45% of participation of these teachers is not that bad result for me. But as the head of this organization, I'm worried of other teachers who did not participate, because as I mentioned from the beginning, I really want other teachers to make a difference, to start thinking of the failure and to change something in their professional development. Well, I would like to just draw your attention to some of the challenges, because these are just minimum challenges. There are a lot of challenges during this project. First, I think that maybe I could have done more things to engage teachers, but there are also some of the challenges I would like to talk. Competition is the most important barrier between teachers, but not only teachers, but all over the world. In every sphere of our society, there are competition, maybe between doctors and so on. So that's why competition blocks the process of development. I mean, the professional development. Also self-awareness. You know, most of the time teachers blame students that they don't understand something, you know. So that's why we think we need to think of our intention. What is our intention? And also fear of expression. I mean, they are not so open to new things and new approaches and stereotypes. And I'm sorry, and I think that just the solution that on the surface is care, collaboration, and change, which can cope with these challenges. And I will just share with you one stereotype, which is sometimes irritating, but I always explain those teachers that teachers are not born. We are just quest heroes. I mean, in general, people are quest heroes who need to make differences in life, and we just choose to be teachers, and then we develop. So we are not born. Nobody's born with their profession, either doctors and etc. And this is my favorite circle of questions by Simon Sinek, who is a leadership expert, British American author, and he is working with the companies to cope with some issues regarding marketing. But I use it in my teaching setting, and I always ask myself, why did I choose to be a teacher? And if I know the answer to this question, I can naturally answer other questions like how to do something, how to teach, and what to teach. Here I will just introduce you my personal questions, and you can adapt it to your personal setting. Why do I teach? It means that I have to find some intention. So why Am I a teacher? And then comes how. I had to find the ways how to achieve my goals. I think the positive psychology works a lot, works quite well here, and positive feedback helps me to be a good teacher. And what do I need to teach? It means in accordance with my students and teachers' needs, if I am a teacher trainer. Well, as to summarize, the most valuable question is what do teachers need? And I'm honored when I am asked to, Elena, what do you need as a teacher? So I always ask those teachers who I work with in the region of Georgia, what do you need? And, you know, they really need opportunities to share and express themselves. They need to be cared and appreciated. And after that comes job satisfaction. And when they feel functional, it means that they are really happy. And you know, when you are happy, you can just care and you can create a happy generation for sure. And I also, at the end of my presentation, I will want to be very optimistic about this pandemic and about everything in education. I think that we teachers really can change everything. And I will just read a few words from Dylan Williams' quotation, that I think the only way we can improve teacher quality is to create a culture of continuous improvement. The job we are doing is so hard that one lifetime is not enough to master it. Every single one of us needs to accept the commitment to carry on improving our practice until we retire and die. And I think you all of you agree with that. So, I would like to just thank International Black Sea University for giving me such an opportunity to meet Nick Mikoludakis, who was the keynote speaker several years ago when we were just face-to-face communicating. Nick is the, I don't have words to express what kind of person he is. He is the best person and best professional. He volunteered to support Georgian teachers, you know, and he held some webinars organized by English Teacher Space. You can go to our web page on Facebook, and also Ben Pellegrim, who is a TESOL professional in the USA, and we collaborate. You know, collaboration is vital in continuous professional development, and all of the teachers all over the world are welcome to collaborate with us. So as for my plans in the future, I would like to invite you to the first regional conference on English language, not only English language, but language teaching in Koni municipality. You can go and visit this wonderful town in mountainous region in Okatse Canyon with its hanging bridges. And I hope the pandemic will permit us to hold this conference in open air. You can go to our webpage and like the webpage, and you can contact us and register there. So thank you very much for being with me. If you have any questions, I'm welcome to answer your questions. Thank you. I think I've been talking too much.
Thank you, Elena, for this really inspiring presentation. You were sharing your experience with such enjoyment that I really enjoyed this.
Okay, thank you. The positivity is very important. We need positivity nowadays, you know, because we are very stressful and depressed because of pandemic. And I hope everything will be finished very soon, and wish you stay healthy.
And I'm so happy that this happened in Koni municipality, because it is nice when we give the opportunity to teachers who work in different regions.
Yeah, because you know they can't. The most important thing in this project was that they can't afford to go to the center and to be qualified. So that and the innovation in this project was that we went there at place and locally, and they really enjoyed this training. But I wanted to just not only 45%, but maybe 100% of participation. But maybe next time.
Right.
From time to time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you, Elena, thank you. I just felt a bit disappointed when you said that we are not born as teachers. I thought that I was born as a teacher. When you said
I think we are not born. We decide. You know, maybe when I become 60 or 70, I would choose my profession. Why not? This is a choice. I think life gives you a lot of choices.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think we have this feeling of born teachers because for some teachers something is easy to do, and for some it needs more effort to do.
But I think this is the genetic kind of skills which you come down with that skills. But if we say that we are born, some of the teachers could be demotivated. You know, I think like that.
I agree.
We need to motivate everyone to get involved in continuous professional development.
Can I also, guys, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so okay, thank you. I also want to thank you, Elena, for the job she's doing for these regional teachers and contributing to the great topic and that we have in the country, like professional development for teachers. I'm so happy to see the tangible results of our previous conference meetings, and so happy to see that you continued to collaborate with Nick, and thank you for that, for all the work that you are doing. Thank you very much. That was very interesting to see the experience that you have shared with us.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me such an opportunity.
Okay, thank you. So our next presenters are Natia Bendeliani and Nino Sritladze about the first year university students' problems, right? Challenges.
Yeah. Yes. Hello one more time. Well, even though today I present totally different topic, language teaching is one of my specialty. So I hope that the topic will be interesting for you. So you can see the presentation, right? Yeah, so today I'll be talking about the research that I've conducted with my supervisor, and it's related to career decision-making difficulties among the first-year students. So the premise of my study was the reports published by World Bank and later Center for Social Science in 2017, and they make the great emphasis on the fact that the low productive labor market in Georgia is caused so-called horizontal and vertical mismatch between employment and education. On the one hand, there is no demand for graduates professions, and on the other hand, their work qualification does not meet the requirements of the employer. So no studies have been conducted in Georgia that would measure if making right career choice might affect students' employability. But what we know is that they face difficulties while choosing their major. So Gardik, Rose, and Osipov suggesting us the career decision-making taxonomy, and you can see that the categories are differentiated into 3 different subscales, right? Lack of readiness can be product of lack of willingness to make a decision, or general indecisiveness, and as well dysfunctional beliefs, which reflects the unreasonable expectation about the process of career making decision, right? As for the second category, lack of information, they lack information about themselves, about their competence, about their skills, about occupations and alternatives that exist in the labor market. And most importantly, have to make decisions wisely. And in case they possess information, this information is inconsistent and unreliable, right? So as well as they face the third category, you can see internal and external conflicts, right? Which reflects that these external conflicts due to like their preferences, and the preferences of significant others are totally different. I included the variable of decision-making difficulties and decision-making self-efficacy in my research, since self-efficacy beliefs is one of the major predictor of the career indecision. And as one of our presenters already mentioned, the concept of self-efficacy is derived from Bandura's social cognitive theory, which has become the fundament of social cognitive career theory. And we can see that people who believe in their ability to complete the task successfully, required to achieve an outcome, are more likely to engage in and persist at those tasks. Well, little has been known about how intrapersonal and intra-individual factors interact to the process of career indecision. And according to this self-determination theory, the individuals cannot attain the sense of effectiveness and competence unless his or her decisions and actions are not derived from the sense of autonomy. Using growing interest in this phenomenon, the researchers developed and validated the index of autonomous functioning that I've used in my research as well. And as you can see, autonomy is the base of 3 different facets: authorship, interest-taking, and susceptibility to control. And here we are. This is how I formed my research questions. What is the relationship between decision-making difficulties and decision-making self-efficacy? And what is the relationship between difficulties and the 3 facets of autonomous functioning? And does the level of difficulties and efficacy change whether students have experienced career counseling or not? I'm not going to focus and present what instruments I've used, but what I want to mention is that all of them were self-directed forms, and yeah, as you can see, and if you're interested, I can send you these instruments. Okay, move to the procedures. We received responses from 127 students, and their age was they've been like 18 years old, most of them, as you can see. Yeah, move to the results. The current study showed that the highest level of self-efficacy students possess, they witness less difficulties in the process of making decisions. So if the individual can make decisions, if the individual has the capability to find an information about alternatives, labor market, they make decisions easily. So self-efficacy can become a guide to finding consistent information, and at the same time to diminish the dysfunctional beliefs about different kinds of professions and about the process of making decisions in general. Well, the second important finding from the study, I think, makes contributions to the current literature, because there has not, the autonomous functioning hasn't been tested in relation with career decision-making difficulties. When individuals force themselves to do what others think it is right, and they avoid the feeling of shame and the frustration, and they behave like others dictate, in this case, they face difficulties while choosing their major, right? Contrary to the expectations, present study found that interest-taking, one of the subscale of the autonomous functioning, correlates positively with the decision-making difficulties. But we can explain these outcomes when one reflects and observes own actions, with great sensitivity and cautious and strives for perfectionism. They might have problems with decision making, and they are not ready to make this decision. no relationship was revealed between self-congruence and the decision-making difficulties. And actually, this links me to one of the limitations of my study, that we included only first-year students, and they are in the earliest stage of their planning process, right? But at the same time, it is not a limitation, because I had a desire to see if the school as an institution provides them career counseling and provides them self-knowledge in order to make the most important decision in the life. And one of the objectives of my study as well was to see if there is an in-group difference between the students who received any kind of career, formal or informal, counseling in their life, and if the level of self-efficacy differ. So as you can see, indeed, any kind of career counseling they had in their life affected on their beliefs. And that made me actually to think and to get acquainted with different models of counseling, career counseling. And one of the models that I would like to share with you is PIC model that is suggested by Gotti and Escher. And this model was well adopted in schools and universities, and they make the great emphasis on the active role of the career counselors that helps the students to involve in the process of self-exploration and to help them enhance the decision-making skills. Okay, for example, if you made a wrong decision, so do you have this capability to change your major, right? And to measure your ability to reflect your competence and till the end of your bachelor or master, change the profession that you possess, right? I hope that the insight that I gained from my research would be interesting for the higher institutions, representatives of higher institutions, and encourages them to think and to establish the career counselor sectors at universities, since this is not only study that prove that having some consultations with career counselors affect and increase the students' employability and increases their self-awareness. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. If you have any question, I'm ready to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Natia. I agree in every word, in everything, how you portrayed the problems of our 12th graders or the first year students about their professional decision making, because our even 12th graders, the students lack autonomous decision making process. So we are weak in it. I think this is the problem of maybe our cultural bringing up also, because mostly the parents make more decisions for their children, and makes them less autonomous.
Yeah, that's what direct their actions, and that is what is behind their actions mostly.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions to Natia? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and we have the last presenter, I guess, in the list about the Indonesian perspective of the quality of teacher education, Pipit Novita. Is the presenter here? Well, I think we don't have the last presenter, right?
So I think I'm the last presenter here.
No, we have two more. So Natia is here, and I also have recorded presentation. So Natia is presenting.
Okay, sorry, because in my list I have the one more.
Can I present?
It's on the other page.
Okay, just a minute. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so hello everybody, my name is Natia Gabashvili. It's my second day presenting in this conference, and I present Tel Aviv State University. I'm assistant professor there, and today I'm going to talk about the essence of distance education and its organization. And you agree that it's very important and so urgent issue nowadays. So education in the 21st century is a very important value for each person, as possessing a good education is a powerful weapon for self-realization and establishing oneself in this rapidly developing world. And current pandemic situation created many challenges and forced us changes in many areas, and education is not an exception. Educators and scientists have been looking at ways to shift the traditional learning environment and resources into an adequate learning space by developing huge online and offline learning materials. Virtual education and distance learning has become part of our and the students' life. Virtual distance education has lots of definitions, but the most and the key definition is that it's the process that lets you study remotely without regular face-to-face contact with a teacher into the classroom. It's the kind of education that is conducted beyond physical space and time and is aided by technology. So distance education is not a new concept. According to Boskurt, we meet the earliest educational examples in distance learning in the 18th century. And one of the patterns of this could be the newspaper advertisement, which was published in America in 1728, in which the author offered the clients to teach a stenographic method of printing in a distance way. The teacher and the students would exchange the materials and the home tasks with the help of the post service. In the early 1980s, record numbers of students in developing countries have gained access to higher education through distance education programs, and they used TVs and radios with this. So distance education has so its organization forms. The main forms are three: synchronous format, asynchronous format, and hybrid learning format. So let's discuss each of them. So synchronous learning happens in real time. This means that students and instructor interact in a specific virtual place at a set time. In these courses, instructors commonly take attendance, same as they would in a real classroom. So common method of synchronous online learning include video conferencing, teleconferencing, live chatting, and live streamed lectures that must be viewed in real time. So if you like active discussion and immediate feedback and personal interaction with peers and instructors, so this method is just right for you. But for some learning styles, asynchronous online format is actually an improvement over classroom learning because it allows for a more dynamic exploration of topics, ideas, and concepts. With synchronous online learning, learners interact regularly and frequently with professors and can get to know them. This provides regular opportunities for face-to-face discussion, individual guidance, and mentorship without having to schedule independent appointments. But however, synchronous learning has its disadvantages too. If students have chosen this form of learning, it may cause problems because of their unpredictable work schedule, or if someone is a parent keeping a baby alone, synchronous learning is not for him, for her. One more problem could be technical difficulties. For synchronous learners, technical difficulties like spotty internet or dying batteries and lazy computer is a disaster. Let's move to asynchronous organizational form in distance learning. So asynchronous learning happens on students' schedule. And while the course of study, instructor or program will provide materials for reading, lectures for reviewing, assignments for completing, and exams for evaluation, learners can access and satisfy these requirements on their own schedule. So long as they meet the expected deadlines, guidelines. Common methods of this format include self-guided lesson modules, pre-recorded video content, virtual libraries, lecture notes, and online discussion boards or social media platforms. As for the negative sides of this, it could be so that it is lonely experience because we are lack of social contacts. Students have lack of motivation because they don't have immediate feedback what they learn, and they are very isolated. The final form of this learning, of distance learning, is hybrid learning. Hybrid classes offer more schedule flexibility than in-person classes. Rather than attending multiple class sessions each week, students complete more than half their work online, allowing them to arrange coursework around their own other responsibilities. It is more flexible and adequate for some students' life. Hybrid classes adapt better to student learning styles than an exclusively online or in-person class can. So, for example, auditory learners may benefit from the ability to rewind recorded lectures and materials, while visual learners can study slides at their own pace. Also, by using this format, students learn how to use distance learning technologies, interact with instructors and other students as well. The disadvantage of this form of organization can be that learning could be a good technological setup. For some students, taking a hybrid class might require buying a new computer or upgrading their current technology. So I was interested about distance learning advantages and disadvantages, and I had a little survey with the teachers at our university. Now I will read out some of these answers that are, some are ridiculous, but they are very so near to our life nowadays. So they said that as for the disadvantages, let's start from the bad news. The teachers said that they had to buy new expensive computers, but to my mind it can be advantage as well. So they hurt their eyes with the distance learning. Some of them say that they forgot what clothes they have in their wardrobes, as they don't have to wear special clothes when they go to work. So sometimes they deliver lectures with casual clothes. So some of the teachers gained so many kilograms during pandemic because they had to spend so more of their time in the kitchen, and at the same time they were delivering lectures. So I miss my students and colleagues so much. I miss looking into their eyes. It is the most important disadvantage, I think. So I often have technical problems. Electricity and internet is a problem as well, because in regions it is a problem nowadays too. So I can't hide anywhere, as my children can find and start grumbling. So it's a problem for teachers. As for the advantages of distance learning, the teachers say that they can save travel expenses because they are home delivering lectures. They can get up later and not hurry up. Sometimes they need time for their family, and they can pre-record lectures for their class, and that is a disadvantage for them. They can save money as they don't need to buy clothes, shoes, or petrol for driving. They can deliver lectures with casual clothes. It's more comfortable as I can drink coffee or tea at the same time with the lectures. Also, so one more teacher said that pre-recorded lectures are great help. So they can control their family and kids better when they are at home. And one advantage is that they can deliver lectures together with the morning coffee. So finally, I could say that despite certain advantages or disadvantages, current pandemic situation makes us work and study online, because it's our inseparable and inevitable part of in this pandemic situation. Thanks a lot for listening. Here are some references that I used for preparing this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Natia.
Okay, now I will stop sharing my screen.
If anybody has question, please.
Has it stopped?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we have to share now the recorded one.
Right. Yeah, we have the last presentation, which is recorded. Okay, and the presentation topic is educational tools in online teaching, presented by Nina Lomsadze, Nina Bojarishvili, and Diakali Bojarishvili. So it's quite an interesting topic, I guess. So here we go. Let me share my screen like this out. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yes, everything is fine, I guess.
Okay, all right.
Nice to meet you again. I'm Nina Lomsadze.
Do you hear well?
Yes,
yes, yes, it is okay.
Associated professor from Georgian Technical University. I'm going to talk about my presentation, Educational Tools in Online Teaching. The article deals with the online learning as a key contributing factor and the emerging of a new pedagogy with the educational tools and how it affects the way we teach and learn. And because of the COVID-19 pandemic, it became the most popular aspect on teaching online. The allowance of technology in teaching differently and to meet new needs as well as old ones. How technology helps to drive innovation in teaching and learning. There are discussed some features of educational tools which make educational process more dynamic and interactive. Today, technology is a natural part of our environmental, and furthermore, it is used whenever applicable to help students learn, give and receive feedback, expand basic informational and technological literacy skills in their specific subject. And now, new aspects, tools, and also learning and teaching dilemma caused by a pandemic create new challenges compared with traditional forms of teaching. Now, I am briefly review the main issues from my presentation. These are the distance learning, new pedagogy, educational tools, allowance of technology, teaching dilemma caused by pandemic. What about distance learning? Distance learning allows us to use multiple free computer resources to choose the schedule of lessons appropriate to us. And main reason is that we can do it with the new developments in technology, especially online tools, and we must do it because of a pandemic situation. Of course, the previous developments in online teaching contribute the use of online learning platforms. Students can even get a degree using such kind of online teaching courses. One of the advantages of online learning is the fact that it also anticipates the needs of each student to provide proper learning to them. Now, new pedagogy, the emerging of a new pedagogy with the educational tools and how it affects the way we teach and learn. And because of the COVID-19 pandemic, it became the most popular aspect on teaching online. Such kind of student transition to fully online teaching and learning arise interest to pedagogical issues of education. Some experts believe that online courses that are designed from constructive principles should be relevant, interactive, project-based, and cooperative, while providing learners with some choice over their studying. With new educational tools, pedagogical approaches and strategies are changing. Classroom time is spent on interaction among students and the teacher using those tools. Teaching models for online distribution has changed using new technologies. Educational tools. With new educational tools, pedagogical approaches and strategies are changing. Classroom time is spent on interaction among students and the teacher using those tools. Teaching models for online distribution. has changed using new technologies. Nevertheless, we are living in a unique changing period in online teaching and studying, and new tools which are integrated in old known platform are used as well that can help manage teaching and learning, such as communication tools, learning management system, or other tools can be used to create expanding educational content. For example, Facebook groups can be used for learning while giving homework. Zoom provides a secure, unified communications platform for educational featuring flowels, videos, wireless content sharing, and chat to foster student learning and administration communication. Also, Cisco WebEx, Google Classes, Coursera, edX, TED. Also, there are teaching platforms like Quizlet, Memories, Kahoot, and etc. Allowance of technology. Technology allows us to teach differently to meet new needs of online teaching, as well as know to forget and anticipate the old ones. As students can now participate in the construction of knowledge and learning process itself, it changes and affects the teaching methods we are using. Those circumstances create environment where students' collaboration and reflection became crucially important. And what about dilemma that caused by a pandemic? Despite the overwhelming consequences of the pandemic, this global crisis has also been an extraordinary time for learning. The COVID-19 pandemic has created the largest disruption of education system in human history, affecting nearly 1.6 billion learners in more than 200 countries. The sudden transition of remote teaching has left many teachers faced with various changes, from not having access to the internet to finding the proper tools to overcome the boundaries of online teaching. Thank you for watching.
All right, so I think we have to stop sharing.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, so, well, actually, we don't have the presenter here with us to put the questions, but I think we have concluded with the actual topic that we have been talking actually for two days, like this pandemic outbreak brought different issues to focus on, like online mode of teaching, different online platforms, and I think we got skilled somehow to apply to those new skills as teachers and educators. I would like to thank all the participants. I think we had very productive session, interesting topics, interesting discussion. If there are some comments, please feel free to share.
So I also want to thank everyone for this really interesting session and for making this really good and productive session.
Okay.
Thank you for giving this opportunity.
Yes, thanks for organizing this wonderful conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to the organizers. And we hope, I hope to meet you face to face next year.
This is what we hope to.
Yeah, stay healthy. Take care, all of you.
Thank you. You too. Still, we have time to move to the main room where we will have some kind of closing speeches. So let's move to the main room and wait for others. I think they will need 10-15 minutes to finalize their sessions.
Okay. So
Thank
we'll
you. See you there.
Thank you.
Right.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.